So, hello again. Hi.
Hello there.
Hi.
I'm joined again by Jonny Yusef from propanefitness.com.
Yusef and Jonny.
Yusef and Jonny, indeed. And we are today doing our first ever Q&A episode.
This wouldn't be possible without the valuable contributions from you guys. So
Our listeners at
thank you
home.
for the,
Our listeners at home. So yeah, I posted, and so did you guys, on our respective Instagrams, asking for people to submit questions, and we got
really sensible questions.
some unsensible ones, but interesting ones. They were all interesting, and we've got
I was being slightly facetious, but
60.
are there any mentions of Johnny's legs?
There aren't actually,
No.
which is very refreshing.
I wanted to ask myself a question, why are Johnny's legs so long, but I couldn't.
To ask yourself that.
Yeah.
I see.
It's very introspective.
Yeah, I know. So, we're going to do Q&A today. There's a couple that have been asked.
Voilà.
A couple of questions that people have requested remain anonymous. Other than that, I think we can just...
Oh, can I know who's
It's
anonymous?
fine for that, but just
Go
don't
on.
say it.
Read out the usernames.
Yusef,
I
you
think
moved
if,
again.
if we can mispronounce.
The usernames as well.
Don't mispronounce the username. So,
He's
Q&A.
He
Client.
was just in an Arab accent for every username, please.
Is it the same person?
It is.
What, the
Yeah,
same person
yeah.
who's got the single unique username which only exists for one person on
Well,
Instagram.
Yeah, but I don't know what his Instagram handle is. I just know what his name is.
It's
Moving on.
First name dot last name.
Moving on. Our first question is going to be...
Swiftly on. Do you mind if I dib and dab or?
Huh?
Okay. Can I straighten your hair?
No.
Have you have straightened it.
Can
I've
I
seen it
straighten your
straightened.
hair?
You can. I don't think it'll be as dramatic as
No.
Chris.
What does your hair look like straightened?
Well,
I mean,
when I used
straight,
to have an afro, I looked like a girl with a beard.
I don't think that's true.
I looked a lot like a girl with a beard.
The picture of you mid haircut, but it slicks back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's
That's what it
photos.
looks like straight.
Video man Dean, if I can find it, we will put it somewhere.
I think put it on top of Chris's face for the rest of the episode.
Just there. If you are listening, you're missing out because we've got 3 camera angles here. So I know most of you will be on iTunes or Spotify or whatever else, but Modern Wisdom YouTube channel, you can see us in our slightly overheated glory.
Yeah. If you're listening, there's probably just
A very low level hum.
which is a fan, because otherwise we would actually die of heat.
We would
You'll
melt.
be able to see the glisten of
It would
sweat.
melt in front of your eyes. And Johnny is 120 kilos. So,
130.
right. Okay.
Do you track macros?
That's for all of us, obviously.
No, not anymore.
I do.
Do you?
We discussed this on a live stream the other day that we don't
Well, no,
because
I do.
we graduated from needing to. Like years of tracking means that you build enough momentum to not need to anymore.
I also don't track.
You can do it by feel eventually.
It's not fun for me to do them randomly. I'm going to do them in order from top.
Fine.
I do track. Why don't you two track?
So I've explained.
It's just too much effort for me. However, I'm about to start with Tim from We Dominate Nutrition,
Okay.
and I'm also going to be on Warrior Programming as of the next couple of weeks. And as a part of that, I will be
Tracking macros.
accountable. And if I don't, I will get shouted at of a guy who looks like Hitler's wet dream.
Oh yeah.
I think if
Because
you aren't naturally abs lean, like you two are, realistically, you should try macros if you want to change.
If you want to get lean.
Yeah. Well,
oh yeah. So
I think there's
like-
an argument to do it regardless, to be honest.
Well, next time I diet, I am absolutely tracking macros. If
Do you think that'll ever happen?
Maybe not. But yeah. Or if I start doing a 90-day push of focusing much more on physique, then yeah. Like once things start to stall out, I think we take the approach of if something is working, don't fix it, and then only add in the levels of accuracy that are necessary to.
The problem for
keep
me,
progress
the
going.
problem for me with tracking macros is I'm not naturally tremendously good. I've had to use the 6-minute diary is the only way I've ever been able to journal, with a 3-minute commitment in the morning and a 3-minute commitment at night. Naturally, I'm not a facts and figures driven person, and the same way as if you are an unpassionate person in a job up against someone who is passionate, it takes so much more motivation to compete. For me to be able to do what other people do seamlessly. Some people track their water intake, track everything.
I struggle with that. for some reason.
water intake.
Yeah.
But you're fine with food.
Well, what's the benefit to tracking your water intake? Like,
I don't know.
much easier to just get a 2 litre bottle on your desk and fill it up.
Well, just learn if you learn the principles and embed the habits, after a while you don't even need to do them anymore. So, moving on.
I had really interesting
Keep your urine
point.
clear.
Can't remember what it
We'll
was.
come back to it.
Related to tracking, nutrition, like getting attacked.
That'll be really
What
low.
do your daily routines look like at the moment?
Who's that from? You're not doing the people it's from.
You said don't read people out.
I said there's only a couple of people who ask to be anonymous
How am I supposed to know who those
because
are?
they say.
Everyone
Roger.
else, Arab accent.
Roger that. Jordan Ayres.
Jordan, by the way, is sending me reading lists on almost a weekly basis over email, and they're all fantastic. So
Same.
thanks a lot. But Jordan is,
He's done the same thing, Jordan. Appreciate it.
man, he's awesome. So,
I've not seen any of these.
well, we'll link you in.
How are you being sent them?
Through Propane Inbox.
It's
Good
because
lord.
you're not checking
Because-
social media enough.
Yeah.
Instagram.
I respond to people on private
Oh,
message.
There we go. Lads.
You respond to people, so I don't have to.
What do our daily routines look like at the moment? Bloody hell. Okay, I'll be as.
Concise.
I'll take
Brief.
I'll take the headlines as much as I can. So, wake up. Outside, so I'm doing sunlight exposure now, even if it's raining.
You'll
So
be
like,
Marcus.
You've read Aubrey Marcus, haven't you?
no. This is from Dr. Greg Potter, who may or may not have been released on the Modern Wisdom YouTube channel
I
and
need to listen to that.
iTunes.
Either in the past or the future.
Well, yeah, we've broken the fourth wall of the scheduling of
You
podcasts.
pushed it, I tipped it over.
Yeah, fine. Okay. So, light exposure as soon as I get up. Coffee, porridge, water. Sit down, meditate, journal, read, meditate, none of the while looking at my phone. Then get up, prep my food if I need to prep. If not, I've got a food prepping company that's doing it for me. Thank you very much, Spoonhead Nutrition. Head to the gym, train, head to the office, work, come home, and then either my evening routine needs optimizing. It's where I'm worst at the moment, and it tends to be Netflix at the moment, chill out. I'm dialing back my double screening of phone and TV, and if not, I'll be at work or I'll be doing something social or potentially training twice if I've got it in me. How about you guys? Yusuf?
Up, train, come home, cold shower, meditate, get ready for hospital. Go in, come back.
Get battered by the
Admit
NHS.
yourself to A&E.
Admit myself to from the cold
Get ready
shower.
for
I
hospital.
still feel whenever you say, I've got to go to hospital, my initial reaction is
Oh my
like,
God,
oh my
what's
god, are you
wrong?
okay? I'll never get used to
I'm
it.
off to graft.
Yeah, I should clarify. Like, put a shirt on, put a name tag on, go to hospital, totally fine. Stand around at the hospital for a while, come home, work on various projects, and recently it's the bedtime routine that's been the big thing for me.
Focal
So
point.
yeah, so just trying to minimize screen time post 9 p.m. is the biggest bad habit that I have. And it's not even fun procrastination stuff. It's like shitty admin that's just low level stress and keeps the mind momentum going before you go to sleep. So eliminating that, red light, magnesium spray or ZMA. Or
Where are you
melatonin
using
or something
magnesium
like
spray? Lower back.
that. Lower back and bum.
And bum.
In and around my bum.
Hole.
Anus or bum?
For some reason I thought whole, like the whole bum. Not the bum, whole. Yeah.
The bum as a whole.
Okay.
I mean, that routine has collapsed this week because we've had a big push.
Yeah, me
for
too.
work, but
it's weird, isn't it? Like your evening routine's so much fucking harder than
well, we
your
were saying
So I
this, that the times that routine collapses and the self-care routines are the first things to go, even though they should
Or
be
when
the
they're
things
most
that-
needed.
Exactly.
It's when you're the most stressed that you meditate the least.
You're like,
which
oh,
is
I've got
exactly
time
when
to
you
meditate.
fucking need it, yeah.
And then you
Right,
just fall
Johnny,
through the day.
Tell us.
Um,
Because you're the one that's going to be trialling something from Aubrey Marcus. Are you having are you having a bone broth?
to be honest, the book annoyed me quite a lot.
Seize the Day by Aubrey Marcus.
I think it leads you in thinking there's some decent suggestions here, like the hydration thing in the morning's interesting, the light exposure's interesting, and then it just
Before he knows it, you're throwing up in a bucket after letting another man have sex with your wife.
Well, and like he argues the way that he's running a massive private company in America is because he uses a certain type of incense in his office, and I'm sorry, I just don't buy stuff like that. Moving on. So my routine is probably very similar I do ROMWOD in the morning.
Yep.
I meditate in the morning. I try and read or listen to something in the morning. Normally listen on Audible. I do something called The Work by Byron Katie, which has been massively helpful. I keep trying to lend Chris the book, but he just doesn't want it. I journal in an Evernote file that's got over 200 entries in that now. Just some interesting reading.
Nice.
What else do I do? That's it. I've tried.
Train.
So actually, recently I've been trying training later in the day.
Okay. After only just beginning to try training earlier.
So I did training in the morning for 6 months, more or less, and it is good. But the trouble was just the amount of you get to this point, and I know you start work later and finish work later. I have this natural kind of disruption to my day from a work perspective because my girlfriend gets home at a certain time, and to continue working feels wrong.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I've got this window where I've got to get my work done, and the later I start, the more.
So what you're saying is that if your girlfriend gets home and you're working, that's a problem. But if your girlfriend gets home and you're not at home because you're at the gym, it's fine.
Well, so what I've been trying to do recently, we had a business coach probably a year ago, and when I was talking to him about this, I was like, I always struggle to arrange these pieces of my day so that it's just I run into the fewest problems. And he was just like, just stop work at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
And I told you about this.
Parkinson's law just means that you just work
So
to a deadline.
I've done it 2 days this week. I find it really, really difficult to do. It's do all those habits, start work, finish at 3 p.m. And lo and behold, on those days, got more work done.
Yeah.
And then go to the gym. But you go to the gym at that time, and there's just loads of people at the
More
gym.
traffic, busy gym.
Yeah. So I'm still searching for
Optimal.
the best time to train.
The
But
traffic's the problem, whereas I'm cycling 200 meters listening to audiobooks on 5 times speed as you.
to be honest, the traffic
6
in the
morning.
gym, the people in the gym is more the problem. Getting a barbell, getting a space to squat a deadlift.
And you're training in a gym which is much more
It's massive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
much better facilitated.
I
reckon doing it in order is going to miss out some of the real good ones because we're not going to have time to go through everything.
Alright, do you want me to just use my
We'll go
judgment?
in order, but then just skip the shit ones.
Yeah.
And then we can always come back and.
Okay. What's the largest animal you could single-handedly cling film to a lamppost?
Who was that?
Sorry, Rob Ransom. Recognise that name?
Horse. Because.
No, fuck off. A horse.
Because horses' brains are this big. They're not going to. I think if you can catch it in a.
I think what we're talking about here is how docile is the animal.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm imagining it's off the ground.
Oh, so you,
Well, yeah, because
so around its belly.
otherwise you just push anything up against a tree. And
Right. Okay. So do that to a leopard.
Oh
A
god.
leopard.
Yeah.
It's not even that large. A leopard. It's
Right. Yeah. So try and do that to a
I
leopard.
see what you
You're
mean.
dead.
Yeah.
I see.
Try and do that to an elephant, and it's going to break through the cling film unless you can use an industrial sized roll.
Elephants. Yeah.
Got it.
I met one a few weeks ago, and it realised how.
How was it?
They're really nice, but they're just they're quite clumsy, and if
Big
one
old
steps on
head,
your
haven't
foot, big old heads.
2-dimensional foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Single-handedly cling film to a lamppost.
Okay, if it can be on the ground, panda.
Panda. Okay.
Panda. Have you ever seen someone just try and make a panda not roll down a hill? They're so naughty. They would not stay still at all.
I think I could lure a panda into a position that would allow me to cling
Some
film.
bamboo.
Because what you'd have to do, stand with so you peel a bit off the cling film, grab it, throw the other bit over, try and throw it round, and then run round, catch it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
It's going to get spooked with that, I think.
Yeah,
and
you're moving
bears as
far
well.
too quickly.
Even though panda's a nice bear.
What's
They're
really
still
big?
panda,
Well,
panda,
I mean,
panda.
okay. How about this?
panda.
Blue whale.
Blue whale.
Yeah, fine.
Where's it going?
I think it's more if it starts to thrash. If a blue whale thrashes, there's a thing about when it flicks its tail, if you're anywhere near, the vibration can kill you.
Under the water?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, you're not under the
Massive.
water.
I know.
If it
Yeah,
does,
but if it's flopping around in a park next to a tree, and there's you with your roll
is
of
it not a
cling
lamppost?
film.
Is it not a lamppost?
It is a lamppost. So
What's it
okay.
doing next to this tree?
Why am I in a park? So you're on a street with a blue whale, which, for reference,
It's going to be a big street.
Yeah.
Big street running for kilometres with a really big roll.
Kilometres.
Yeah, really big roll.
Kilometres.
Alright.
Well, I mean, to wrap it, it's going to be
Miles and
kilometres.
inches. Running inches and stones everywhere.
Okay, so I think that
Penguin. Definitely do a penguin.
Yeah,
couldn't you?
yeah. Well, the thing is, they're going to have their extensors, their quads, and they're just not going to be able to. Like, how much power and have they got in the feet?
Yeah.
Little feet.
I think you could
One hand
against it, yeah, and
one
then
hand and just wrap it.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, I like a penguin.
I think you go a bit bigger than a penguin, maybe.
I think funniest animal that you could do to that would be something like a flamingo, because it would just be its single head poking up and over. Yeah,
yeah, sloth.
because it moves slow.
Sloth would love
It's
it.
got very, very sharp.
They're
claws.
weird, aren't they?
Yeah, sloths are weird.
You can talk to dogs for 60 seconds. What do you say?
That's not what it said.
Who's it from as well?
Andy Stoko.
Andy Stocko.
You can talk to doggos for 60 seconds. What do you say?
I was
Is that because you write doggo on everything?
he does, and we got it from each other.
Got it. You got it from each other. Meta.
Andy, I would ask, why do you sniff other dogs' bums
Really?
and lick other dogs'
You've got
bums?
60 seconds.
Okay, so
to-
that's the first thing that I can ask. I have
What-
60 seconds.
What if
I don't have one.
What if
question.
it goes, well, Chris, it's quite complex. So, and then.
I'll go. Can we please? Dog.
You see, the pheromonal evolutionary selection of our species is involved with the smell and the crotch of the other dogs.
It depends on which sort of a dog we're speaking to.
I would ask it, are you aware of the concept of I?
Okay. What would you ask?
I'd speak to the dog with psychomotor retardation that we had a day with, and
Yeah.
just say like, it's okay, man. Like, life is worth living.
Yeah.
Don't be sad.
We
Mum.
Man.
Alright.
we went to look after a greyhound that was clinically depressed and had psychomotor retardation, and we thought we were doing something really nice for it, and it turned out that it just didn't want to live, really, did it? We threw a ball towards it and it flinched, and I'd quite like to ask that dog what was wrong with it.
What was going on?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Andy's dog why it decided to eat half a kilo of raw cacao, which is
Wow.
the active ingredient in chocolate that kills dogs, and would have been the equivalent of eating 15 kilos of chocolate, and then it had to be taken to the vets to make itself sick.
But it was okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Wow. I mean, to have such a big poison dose.
Yeah. So
There's a few that are directed at Yusef, so what's it like being J leader? J.I. leader? Has asked Yusef, what's it like being the most handsome man in the Northeast?
It's tough. I think sometimes I'm having to just beat people off with a stick.
Hold on, what do you mean by beat people off?
It's actually not directed.
people.
But that's very kind of you. But unfortunately, the question wasn't just directed at me. I
Chris,
think
what was it like? What's it like?
Yeah, it's fun.
Best answer you could have given.
Yeah.
Top tips for... So Birch3107 has asked, top tips to get massive, all in caps, doing CrossFit.
Good question.
It's not Becca Birch, is it?
No. Not with a photo of a man holding a log.
I would say tips for getting massive doing CrossFit. Just eat as you feel that you need to, because the output that you're going to be doing is so much greater than you're used to. Let's say that in a typical session, like a typical bodybuilding or fitness session, your total reps will be maybe 100, something like that, 100 or 120,
Okay.
like across all movements, across all reps.
3 sets of 10 of 4 movements, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there you go. Whereas in a lot of CrossFit chippers, which is where you've got multiple movements, you're going to be talking like upwards of 300 or 400. So yeah, it's going to be at a lower, your output's going to be high, basically, and you're going to be potentially training higher intensities more frequently, once or twice a day. So just eat as much as you can. If you want to get massive, and if you want to use it to put on mass, I would eat as much saurine as is possible. I would put
Saurine malt loaf.
maltodextrin in your post-workout shake, and I would have I'd have a spoonful of honey with every meal. No, I wouldn't do that last one. That's a lie. Can you read the very bottom screenshot, please? Very bottom one.
By DJ Slacky80. No,
Very bottom.
the one about Tinder.
Yeah.
wish I was in close proximity so I could match him up on Tinder.
And that was a screenshot.
Eyes.
That was a screenshot of you, Johnny.
Twas indeed.
Wish I was in close enough proximity so that I can match up on Tinder. Now, what was... I didn't put the name in. And what you can do, for whoever it was that asked that question, shall remain anonymous, buy Tinder Gold, and you can actually change your location. Find out where Johnny lives.
What's the purpose? Is that if you're going somewhere, like Iceland, for example, that you can
drop yourself in advance.
And
if you go into Iceland and you're an ornithologist. That's it. There it is.
Expert of
There
birds.
it is.
Right, what's next?
I'm trying some cracking ones here. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Johnny. Got to go for ideal scenario.
Okay. Propane's massive. I'm massive. And loads of stuff in my life's massive.
Penis?
Oh, that's fine as it is.
Okay.
I think if that's scaled at the same rate, it'd be problematic. Scaled at the same rate as
Well,
everything
because
else.
then you'll have a relatively small penis if everything else
Yeah,
is
exactly.
massive.
Got it.
You're going to be like a gorilla.
So I'd like to improve multiple skills physically. More on that in a later episode, maybe. Propane, great. Enjoy doing it. Want it to continue, grow, help more people. Personally, I'd like to have explored meditation and self-development a lot more. I want to do at least one meditation retreat, see what that's like. What else? That's all I can think of.
That's cool, man. Yusuf?
I'd like to be in a pair of long trousers
Brogues.
down to my ankles plus brogues. My answer is probably very similar to yours, Johnny. So I'm not gonna bore everyone.
More
but
propane.
More propane, more brogues, and long trousers. I hope one day to be able to buy a pair of trousers that
Long trousers.
cover my whole legs.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
You're going to be a doctor propane.
You are going to be a doctor.
Dr.
I mean,
Propane.
at the very least, you want to be a doctor because you're almost a doctor now.
Yeah, it's funny because now being 80% doctor, but materially doesn't makes
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
and then it's only when you're 100% doctor that there's a
What
binary
about
shift.
spiritually?
I think more retreats as well. Spending 3 months of total time under retreat would be lovely.
Under retreat.
Under retreat,
Sounds so intense, doesn't it?
5 years is not that long though, is it? To get to
3
accumulate.
months.
Oh man, hickety ups.
You got to do what? Be looking at. What's the frequency of that?
It's about 15
Lots.
days a year, isn't it? So, oh no, it's
So it's more than one a year.
Maybe 20.
Maybe
So for me, at the moment, I'd quite like Voodoo to continue doing what it's doing. I think that there is a bit of a glass ceiling with regards to club nights and stuff like that, and I think that we're kind of close to saturation. Newcastle City Council aren't granting any new licences to licensed premises in Newcastle, so
Oh.
because of them,
they fully stopped.
They haven't done for as long as I can remember. So like literally 5 years.
Are they trying to curb binge drinking?
They just
and
don't want.
things?
They don't want any more nightlife. They're okay with the volume of nightlife. They don't want any more. So we're restricted in Newcastle with regards to work. I would like to have competed in my and ideally won, but at least competed in my first CrossFit competition. That's a goal of mine over the next couple of years. I would.
That's separate to the open.
Yeah, like so
What's
compete in a CrossFit comp like Glacier Games or Rainhill Trials. So the same as you going to an actual meet.
Got it.
And then I would quite like Modern Wisdom YouTube channel to hit 100k subscribers. I think within 5 years that's easily doable. Like within 2 years it should be doable. And continue helping people with the podcast because it's incredibly fulfilling to me and it's very it's new ground for me. So every day that I get to do it's a bit of an adventure.
So all of us, it involves serving more people and growing more as people.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Where is your favourite place to be? Sophia Larkin has asked that.
Where's my favourite place to be? Probably embarrassingly in the gym.
Okay.
Has to be home. It has to be at home. Otherwise, what are you doing? If you're in a place that you don't like, and there's a separate place that you like being. I'm assuming you mean city or place.
I think it's so for me. When I read that question, I immediately think of
Who? Who's that?
You put your phone back on. You put your phone off.
It's gonna go.
Where are you going?
It was about to fall off.
No, it's not.
It moved.
Has that stopped it recording as well?
It has.
Was that moment saying you've used too much screen time or something?
No.
Is it cool?
It was my mother.
Sorry, Johnny's mother. Anyway, what's next? Just read one.
How would your life be different if you weren't on Love Island, Chris?
I get asked this question quite a lot, actually. I think this is duplicated a number of times. Who was it?
Vison Asiri.
Nice. Well pronounced as well. Interesting question. Again, it'll probably be quite unsatisfactory compared with what you think I'm going to answer. So it would be that I would be in my exposure would have been increased or something like that. Like, it's propelled me towards stardom and stuff like that. Whereas quite to the contrary, as we learned on the Love Island podcast, it was the beginning of a little bit of a journey towards virtue, because there was a difference between what I realised I was pretending to be and publicly was being and what I was with regards to my own integrity and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think I would have still arrived at this point of doing more introspective work and challenging my own assumptions and kind of turning over the rocks of your life, for want of a better term, and looking at what's underneath, whether it's sort of good or bad. But I don't think that it would have happened as quickly. So for that, I literally can't be any more grateful for the Love Island experience, because it was a kick up the arse that I needed, I think.
So you were on that trajectory, but it just catalysed the process.
100%.
Cool.
It's a real line in the sand for you, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Thoughts on drug use?
So I'm trying to pick from different people, but we'll do that one.
I don't mind.
From the same person.
Yeah.
Thoughts on drug use and lifting at a strong level compared to the average gym goer from the same person.
Depends what you define as strong, because some people are like,
compared to the average gym goer.
I've benched 100 kilos, time to get on the gear. And some would consider
I think
strong
they're
to be...
separate questions,
Thoughts
just to
on
maybe
drug
allow
use
you to
and
get
lifting
into each concept a bit
at
more.
a strong level.
So what are your thoughts compared to the average gym goer? What are your thoughts on drug use? Steroid use, what are your thoughts?
If it's sanctioned in a sport, then you can.
I think as long as you
crazy
are not competing in something that has a rule that says you shouldn't take drugs, and you're saying I'm not taking drugs.
Yeah,
then it's fine.
my view is don't cheat in sports rather than do or don't take drugs.
That's a much better way of putting it.
Yeah, I would agree as well. People can put into their own bodies whatever they want.
But you're going to have to bear the consequence of that, and the more niche drugs you put into your body, the fewer endocrinologists are going to be able to
work out what the fuck's going on with you. Yeah.
Learn about what you're going to do before you do it. Do it sensibly.
Or find someone who knows.
Yeah, because it's a different language. It's a different world.
Just go on some forum, find some bro scientist that you have no idea who he is, and just take their advice as gospel.
It's one of those things, like you can get advice about stuff that has less dire consequences of people, and you can go on like just colloquial, local, inexpert advice. But really, biology is one of those things you can't cheat too much. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't be fucking about with your hormonal system.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
On the side of safety.
And like really think about what you're doing before you do it. I think far too many people who've asked us for advice and questions on this have said like, "Oh, I just started, blah blah blah."
It's like this decision has permanent consequences.
So that really, like, you're not just sort of making a decision that might affect the next couple of months. Like it might affect the rest of your life. So give it the respect it's due.
Yeah.
Lifting at a strong level compared to the average gym goer, you're right. They probably were linked, weren't they? I'm really sorry.
I think
it's fine. We've done that one. On to the next question.
Cool. What is the one book, article, podcast what's the one book, article, podcast you find yourself returning to the most, by George McGill?
For me, it's Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson.
Thank you very much.
I've been returning to this house to
record more of these fucking podcasts over and over again, and then he brought this fan out and he keeps feeding me caffeinated drinks.
Mine is it's a Tim Ferriss article and podcast called Productivity Advice for the Manic, Depressive and Crazy Like Me. And it's like 10 minutes long. And it's basically just something that we talk about all the time, which is like everyone focuses on, everyone thinks that the people that they follow online are these pictures of efficiency, productivity and everything in their life is great. That's very rarely the case.
Paragon of virtue.
Paragon. But the people who are getting loads of stuff done in their life typically are fantastic at prioritizing, just focusing on one thing at a time. And so his advice is like pick one thing to do every day and just do that for 2 or 3 hours. As
Dr. Ewan Lawson said on Your Desk is Killing You, the podcast I did recently, multitasking is for Muppets.
But it feels like you're being more productive.
Yeah.
Like the sensation of time passing accelerates when you're switching between tabs and doing things. You're like, oh, I'm blasting through this, but actually total output is terrible if you're doing A, B, C, D, as opposed to just A.
Exactly
finish,
what
and then B.
Exactly what Peter C. Brown says in Make It Stick on a recent podcast, which may or may not have been published before this one as well.
in the past or the future.
Yeah. Focus. What about you?
I also like where this question's come from, that it's what's the one thing that you find yourself returning to the most?
Yeah.
Because I think it's very easy to read an article like the Manic Depressive Tim Ferriss article and be like, oh my god, that's such good advice. Great. And then 2 weeks later, you've forgotten it, and like, but actually and then you keep searching for new information and new stuff, but you're like, well, I found the answer. The solution is not in more information, it's in implementing the good advice already. And so, like, if you use Evernote, and we'll discuss this in life hacks, like, save something down, put it into your shortcuts, set daily reminders for it or weekly reminders, and just keep it on the top of your mind.
So what's yours?
I've got there's a few that I've condensed into, so I've made it into a kind of bespoke thing that's kind of an amalgam from a bunch of. But Tim Ferriss is fantastic. Like James Clear, pretty good. I can share my list of.
There's not one article or something that you've read where you're like that,
or a video that you keep
specific thing had a big impact on me, or
anything that I find like that, I put it into the propane.
You like to condense and distill down, right?
Yeah. So at propane we're condensers and distillers of information, and so like we do that, and so I suppose if you were to follow our podcast, it's very similar to Chris's, and like it's the condensation of all of those.
So for me, unsurprisingly, Jordan Peterson has probably had in terms of the thinker, the single biggest impact on me. The concept of taking responsibility and trying to shift the world as much towards good by being virtuous and enacting the logos as you can. And if it was a single video, it's one that we mentioned in the Relationships 101 podcast, which was Why We're Fated to Be Lonely by Alain de Botton on the School of Life. And I'll make sure that it's in the show notes below, or just search it on YouTube. 6 minutes, and it completely flipped my worldview on how to judge the quote, "It is both a blessing and a curse to feel everything so very deeply." It just turned it into a blessing for me. And the curse was a byproduct, the same way that a light bulb gives off light, but it also gives off heat. So, yeah.
10 Tips for Financial Success by Anton Creel.
That's a good one.
Categorically, that it was on YouTube. I remember the day it was released. I was driving to my job, and I listened to it, got out the car, and was like, "I'm quitting my job."
You sound a lot like a guy called Anton Creel.
Was
it Chris?
It's me that got accused of it.
Whoever commented on that, we're well aware of Anton Creel. Big fans.
Alan Watts, is it?
Who said, what, Chris sounds like Alan?
No. The philosopher. Alan. Is that what he is?
Yeah.
There's a bit where he's talking about how to decide what you want to do. And it's like, what would you do if money was no object? And he's working through that example. That's also fantastic.
Right, what's next?
What do you think is the best thing you can add to the world or people around you by SparkFit?
Bloody hell, Yusef.
Bloody hell.
What's the best thing that you can add
to the world?
What can you give?
Like,
to
what
the
are
world?
you what are you contributing to the world?
Are they asking general or
What do you
me
mean?
personally?
You.
So us personally, it's everything we put across on propane, like helping people grow mentally, physically, spiritually, like being able to do that with the minimum effective dose. In general, it just depends on what you're calling, what the value that you can add to other people
I think they're
is.
talking about you.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think just try to leave as many people as possible in a better place. Like try and have a positive effect on the world.
So that's
really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, well, there's someone who took that, and that was the advice that he got from his late granddad, and he said, like, just anything you touch, leave it in a better state than when you found it. So whether it's a bathroom or a person, just always add value. And I think we just talked about relationships. Like, I think in long-term relationships, if you can do whatever you can to upgrade the person that you're with, and then you leave them with a legacy that's like, after you've gone, and you know, you say, have friends that want the best for you.
Yeah, I think for me at the moment, what feels like a little bit of a calling is helping people to understand themselves, because our own minds can be pretty vicious beasts sometimes, and I think that this channel is quite swiftly becoming a portal for advice and things that I wish that I'd known 10 years ago. And by being able to give that to people, remembering that my job is dealing with people who are exactly 10 years younger than me pretty much. So I'm practiced in it, and now I have the beginning of a platform to actually be able to, you know, there's an endless 7 billion people that could potentially tap into this kind of advice. And expediting people from expediting people's capacity to avoid pitfalls and achieve goals.
How was Love Island? Asks.
Pizza for glue.
Watch the fucking podcast.
Yeah, I think all of the Love Island questions, the best
Same
way to
question.
answer them is just
Same
go watch that podcast.
Yeah.
Newcastle or Sunderland?
My dad's a Mackham and I'm from Middlesbrough, so
Newcastle.
Newcastle, yeah, there you go.
There's one about so MV Hunter has asked for advice on getting a gym and food routine after moving overseas. You recorded a good podcast with Chris about that, right?
Yeah. So that was
That's
about
how to get lean.
getting lean
okay.
for summer. Getting back into a routine. I think don't think of your previous PBs as the things to shoot for. Like, reset the standards and just start from the beginning again.
I think focusing on basics. So get up at the same time every day.
Mm-hmm.
Learn what your macros target should be ish. Learn what the meals are that you need to cook for those, and then deal with that. Get yourself to the gym, get a good training split, whatever the methodology is, whether it be CrossFit, whether it be strength training, whether it be bodybuilding, whether it be yoga or Zumba or whatever it is. Make sure that it's consistent. Aim to do it at least sort of 3 to 5 times a week, and enjoy. Like, if you enjoy your training methodology, everything else will fall into place, because you'll need to eat to support it. You'll need to sleep to support it. You'll want to perform as best as you can within that methodology, and you'll want to train more. I train 2 times a day sometimes, and it doesn't feel like a labor to me. It feels like a love.
Something you want to do.
Yeah.
I think the currency with success in this respect is the momentum you create by being consistent.
Yeah.
And so if you've been doing something, as Chris described, for 6 months, you're in such a deep crevice that you created.
Grease the groove, right?
Falling out of that's actually quite difficult to do. It's harder to have a week where you completely mess up your nutrition.
pain of stopping is great.
Exactly.
The pain of continuing.
The problem-
What you're missing is that. So just fight to get that momentum back. And
Learn
fight to get
the
back in that
route
place.
to the gym.
Yeah.
Learn where the pots and pans are. Like, all of the little minutiae contributes to making your day an awful lot easier. And another thing that we talk about a lot is stacking the deck in your favor. So if there's something that you want to do, if you want to go to the gym, make sure that your gym kit's folded and in your bag before you go to bed at night. And then the next morning you just pick the bag up and it's ready to go. Like, prep your food. If you don't defrost the chicken the night before, you can't cook it in the morning, which means that you break your diet the next day.
So we've got another podcast on that. Yeah. So make the good decisions easy and the bad decisions hard. And then
If you're dieting and you don't want to eat cookies, don't buy cookies. Don't have them in the house. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Real Hazel James asks, who would you most like to interview?
Oh wow. Hazel, thank you very much. She is a fantastic romance author from America, and her husband is currently battling with PTSD and alcoholism, but is 1 year sober as of a couple of weeks ago. So Hazel,
Awesome.
Congratulations, lots of love to you and your husband. What do you think? Who do you want to sit down with? One person?
So my initial thought...
No, it can be one person.
Alright, okay. I'm going to say a relative.
Oh.
So either either my dad's dad
Okay.
or just someone in my past, like a great grandparent.
Why?
Oh, if it's dead or alive, great. That
Yeah,
opens up a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think so. There's a few stories about my dad's dad where like he escaped from a prisoner of war camp and stuff like this. And I
What
think, like,
nationality is it?
British.
Oh, right. Where was he?
He was in World War Two.
Oh,
In
wow.
Africa, I believe. Escaped from a prisoner of war camp
Oh, my
and
God.
like trekked over mountains.
What a
It's like
story.
awesome story, yeah. And he died when I was very young, and would just love to. I just think there's so many lessons from that particular thing. But I think everyone defaults to a famous person.
Yeah.
But actually, interviewing like either on your mother's side or your dad's side, like someone who is generations before you, and just understanding more about them would be really interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really different answer. That's awesome. So
I think you, Hazel James. I'd love to. No, but I mean, that's a good. I didn't expect you to say that, but actually, yeah. Like if we were to say Anton Creel, Tim Ferriss, and like they've all been interviewed hundreds of times, and the
Seen
kind of
everything
questions
they've
that you
got,
would ask, like people have done that.
Yeah.
So yeah, boring answer again from me, but be my dad now, like several years on, seeing what he would have to say.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I'll break the trend. It would be nice. So my grandmother died when I was 3 or 4. So for me, basically, I've very, very vague recollection of her, but essentially, like in terms of interaction, none. Might as well be none. Would be nice to speak to her. I think sitting down with Marcus Aurelius, as long as he was able to speak English,
Yeah, that would be interesting.
would be.
Oh yeah, like if the opportunity is like Buddha, Jesus, like,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but, you know, out of all of them, like Marcus Aurelius is a military like commander who had a mindset that's lasted like 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So it would be pretty cool to sit down with him, I think.
But he's the source of like Stoic thinking, isn't he?
Yeah.
One of the.
What are you laughing at? Just do it. Do it.
Just these are great.
The problem with that situation, I would feel like if I was put in front of Jesus or whatever, it would be thinking like,
You have such asinine
I'm
questions
just
for
going to
Jesus.
fucking sandbag this. Like, if I'm the only person ever that's had a chance to ask this person questions,
You come back and be like, guys, I've spoken to Jesus.
What's your favourite colour?
Did you ask him this? Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
I asked him if he was gluten intolerant.
I froze. I was like, do you like
What's your bench?
bread? Because I like bread.
you know what actually would be really interesting to see? Go back to like the time when all the statues were created and see if anyone actually was in as good a shape as the statues imply.
And
That's
if they
it.
were, what were they doing? Like
Give me that
with some
protocol.
berry
I
that
bet it's
that's gone
the
extinct.
estrogen in
now.
the water.
Must
Do
be.
you know what I think it is? Bone broth, first thing in the morning.
Bone broth. Bone broth. Any
So-
chance, correct, you read it.
I love
you
this.
Read it. You go on. I know you've been excited about it.
Rebs Jebs
Reb Shebs.
says, any chance you fancy being my personal trainer? Brackets, and I mean that in every sense of the word personal. Winky face.
Excellent. Rabs jabs.
This has got to be either a yes or a no.
I'm unqualified. No.
Great answer. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? Kiss hug, by Jessica Taylor.
Taylor.
Fine.
During intercourse with a lady, she began to say the sentence, spit on m, and got to the M in m. I thought that she meant me, as in her, spit on me, at which point, like a loaded gun, I unloaded a full mouth of saliva onto her face. She quietly wiped it off and said, I meant my fingers. I apologised, laughed, and then continued. That's up there.
It's a tough thing to
Spit
deal
on.
with.
Spit on.
I'm really
There was some
excited to
velocity
hear
as
yours.
well.
You guys know this already, which is losing 23 grand in a period of about 10 minutes. The full story of that is on another podcast.
No, we never recorded it.
We will do. We'll do life.
We
We'll
did.
do life. Well, life
It
fails.
never went live.
Yeah, life fails will come back. But
Why didn't it go live?
we didn't finish it. We never finished it. We got cut off.
Okay, fine. We've got to.
We lost 23 grand trading
We'll
in
have
about.
to restart it.
In how long?
We'll have to,
over
we'll have
about
to
10 minute
re-record it.
period. What? No. you were just trying to press my button.
It loses. You lose about six weeks off your life every time that you
God.
relive that story.
It's the prospect of like something that's been done not being used is absolutely unacceptable. Mine's really mundane.
What's yours?
So this was when I was an accountant early in my career, like probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, the way the day panned out was, used to train in my garage in the morning. So I'm in my garage squatting and really hard set. It's the only time this has ever happened to me. My nose just completely popped. So like blood just went like that mid-rep, and I spat the blood all over the garage. So like you're like pretty intense morning, like you're feeling pretty fragile. Get to work, walk in, very sort of fabricated office environment, very bright lights. Like you're like 10 minutes ago, I'm bleeding all over the garage, and now I'm here. Sit down, and as I sat down, just heard the entire gusset of my trousers just go. And you're like, I'm in this office in Team Valley, auditing this company, thinking I've got the entire day to just deal with this. And so I ended up, the way I dealt with it, because it went all the way up the back of my arse. So you could.
Do you think this is due to quad pump from the
probably
from the squats?
I just walked around with my jacket on the whole day and like tried
Just
to
hope for the best. Like,
yeah.
just
a little bit
stay-
of posterior
stay-
posterior
yeah.
tilt.
So not embarrassing, but like that kind of like
Hyper
socially
awkwardness.
awkward, like
So
nasty.
that reminds me, I've had a very similar thing, which was front squatting in the gym, and then went to the bathroom, came back, finished my session, left, and then realised it's a very busy gym. Realised that I was wearing like swimming shorts for some reason. I must have like not had my kit available, and it's one of those flies that doesn't.
Flaps open.
Yeah, it just flaps open, and I had full penis out for I don't know how long, like probably since I went to the toilet for an hour afterwards, walking around.
There's the story
Didn't
of
get put on the
register.
offenders register.
You aren't on
yeah,
any
so-
list. Well, I suppose you might not know.
Right.
True.
So there's a question here. I'm not going to say the person because I think that's what they mean. How do I lose weight? And then in brackets, please don't post this. I presume that you mean please don't say who posted this, as opposed to please don't post this. Because if that is the case, then the question was completely the name,
Void.
wasn't it? How do I lose weight? Calorie fucking deficit, mate.
Listen to the Get Lean for Summer podcast.
Or just
Really
go to propanefitness.com/protocol.
Calculator.
That's it.
That's where to begin.
Let's do some quick fire ones. What is your favourite non-alcoholic beverage? Coffee.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was good. For some reason I was starting to think like Vimto, Fanta, like coffee. Absolutely coffee.
Yeah.
Nah, I've just bought a blender and I've been making blueberry, pineapple, and Parma violet smoothie. Really nice.
This is him doing green smoothies. The Scobie way.
Palm violet. What is your second favourite animal?
Donkey.
Whippet.
That's not
Whippet's
an animal.
not an
That's a dog.
Okay.
What's your first favourite animal?
Tortoise. No, it's not.
Fair enough then. Well, fair enough. You can't be dog whippet. I was just checking. That's what it wasn't. What it was.
Do you not think? You know that we're getting asked these questions, and no one's the integrity of our answers, for the most part. There's not a whole lot of pressure on, but it feels like there's an awful lot of pressure on.
I've got to get this right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your second favourite animal?
Any animal. Giraffe. See,
I was
there's no
just
way to
thinking that
verify
one.
that.
Yeah, but is
So-
it?
How do I know?
Well, that's it. Like,
Is it even now? Is it at the moment?
No.
Right.
It's
So
not.
what is it?
It's because to say like dog is such a lame answer. That's hot.
Yeah.
Hot
Goodness me. Should we move on?
charge. I haven't
Because
done
I've just
mine.
got a rubbish,
pile off the question.
rubbish answer.
Right. Okay.
What's yours?
Second favourite animal?
Yeah. It's a donkey,
See?
isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
donkey.
Oh,
You're right.
there's an Egyptian zoo that has recently been rumbled for painting a donkey like a zebra,
Wow.
which is very
Just
Egyptian.
hoping for the
Real entrepreneurs.
It's such an Egyptian thing to do.
What if it
just
rains?
Cutting corners.
Fuck.
Then you've
Yeah.
got a really special.
This is a really good one. What do you think are the most attractive qualities a girl can have? Official Tyra Tucker. What do you think are the most attractive qualities a girl can have? So we've just recently done a podcast on relationships where I say about women laying down hurdles for men, and for me personally, it's being kept on my toes. As soon as you know that you've got a girl, there's the challenge and the back and forth and the excitement. Like for me, it's being kept on my toes.
Sense of humour.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking themselves too seriously. And being motivated towards something.
Nice,
Being motivated to achieve something.
nice.
Yeah, all very good. Proactivity, so the lack of complacency, not resting on your laurels for any of your existing good qualities, and just making an effort.
Those are some,
Always pushing that Wilkes.
Always pushing your Wilkes,
that's,
basically.
that is a fucking good framework for being a girl there. Or a guy, actually, to be honest. Would you ever...
better girls and guys. That's all
Yeah,
everyone's
well,
gonna be.
the not taking yourself seriously is huge. Because,
Massive.
like, if you have someone who...
Makes you
is like-
invincible.
Not chasing or not being reliant on public opinion, not being reliant on validation is a big part of that as well.
Ego is the enemy, obstacle is the way.
Ryan Holiday.
Zing.
Would you ever date a guy if you fancied them?
No.
Well, yeah, if I fancied them, like, by definition. Like,
I suppose, yeah, that's it.
Would you eat some
But would you?
pizza if
But
you were
would
hungry?
you? Would you eat a guy? Would you?
Would I eat a guy?
Would you eat a guy? Would you date a guy if you fancied them? Because there's going to be social stigma. There's going to be a bunch of other things.
As in, so, okay, so I think
You'd have to leave your girlfriend.
the question is, if I felt like I was gay, would I pursue that avenue?
No,
Well, surely that is the question.
no. If you fancied
Okay.
a guy,
But I'm not gay.
would you date them?
I think to be like
No.
it's 2018 now. Like to be able to be afraid of pursuing a man that I fancied.
But I think
I'm
so. I
afraid
think
of
I
That's
think
bravery about
I think
yourself. We're
that-
talking.
so
Yeah.
let's reframe the question. Okay, so you're in the relationship you're currently in. You meet a girl that you find attractive and you fancy.
Okay.
Do you date her?
No.
So that's why I'm saying I
I
think
see.
there's
So you're saying within the current constraints.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm the only one. I'm the only one in this
So you would date
room
a
that's
guy?
single. So yeah, like give me some dick.
so you want some dick.
Give me some.
But
Dick.
just that man's dick.
So there's two questions that are side
I
by
think we
side.
can organise you some dick. Like I think we could
Probably
crowdsource
can.
some dick.
Well, I don't only want one.
I can hear your
I don't want
private
multiple.
message inbox just.
I don't
filling
want
up
multiple dicks. I
but you
haven't
can have-
even had one
If
yet.
there's only one offer for a dick, you only have one to choose from. You need to have some options.
I haven't had one,
Okay.
and I feel like opening up with
You want
like
a sampler, a
yeah,
starter.
like getting like a whole fucking hot dog factory of them
yeah.
is going
It's
to be
overwhelming.
overwhelming.
You want like an anti-pasty platter, don't you, to try?
You have to
I want a cocktail
progressively
sausage.
overload it.
I want a cocktail sausage to begin with. There's two questions side by side here. Would you ever go back on Love Island? And if you could do Love Island again, would you? Right now, yes, I would, because I would be set for life and I would get 1 million followers, and that would allow me to pursue this interest without diluting it or convoluting it or doing anything like that. It's just a platform now.
What about the potential social, emotional fallout?
Wouldn't be any. I'm as robust as I've ever been right now.
Okay.
I suppose you've done it once and you were okay. Like it was boring at times, but
So, what is something that had connected you with a partner at a deeper level? SS Park Fit.
I think going through any kind of collective tragedy with someone, or like any adversity, always brings you closer together. Well, where you can test it and might not, but it. I think you don't know what quality someone is until you've been through thick and thin with them.
Something that brought Yusef and I closer together was when we tried to sell our first ever ebook online. And
No. Yeah,
I think us going to Iceland brought us together
bloody hell.
as a three.
The shin doms.
I think
Cold.
collectively, like, we managed to find fun amongst persistent, overwhelming adversity.
An extreme temperature. Yeah.
Yusef made me an egg.
And
I had skier late at night.
Yeah, it was.
Several
It was
times.
good. For me, it's probably MDMA. Like,
MDMA.
MDMA.
Okay.
If you were the... if
Oh,
you
that's the most like reliable way to engineer
A deep
Connection with
communion
someone.
with someone, isn't it? Yeah.
take MDMA, get them to take MDMA, sit in a room and look at them, and
Feel
the
mint.
pretty boundless love. Yeah. This
If
is
you want to do it without the MDMA, there's lots of. So look at David Data, The Way of the Superior Man, and his counterpart exercises. There's a lot of partner exercises where you sit opposite your partner and look into their eyes for a long period, and you breathe with them. One breathes in, the other breathes out, and then
like a two-way meditation.
sort of, and then you say out of 10 how present you feel with them, and they say how present they feel with you. And when it starts to drop, you say, 4, 3, 7, 8, 9, and you just do that for.
David Data, Way of the Superior Man, and there's partner exercises. Are they in the book?
Yeah, they're actually fantastic. I really want to try them, and I'm
Awesome.
very grateful that the person I'm with is up for that. And
Prepared
isn't
to
just
do
like,
that.
oh, that's weird. Like, I'm not doing that.
That's cool, man. Pretty cool one here. What is everyone's short-term training goals? What total, regional competition, just a physique goal, question marks, all from Anabolic OD.
Great username.
Wow. Anabolic OD. 700 kilo total in the 105 kilo class at Nationals 2018, weighing 100 kilos or less.
But you're in the 105s.
Yeah, but I want to, if I'm 100 kilos or less, I'll hit a PB Wilkes.
Nice.
Yep. Disc herniation rehab, tumbling and handstand goals, like get cork or cork to cork.
That's the one-legged spinny flip.
Yeah.
Spinny flip.
Well, remember,
And cork to cork is woo 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 bang, woo 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 bang.
Yeah, just looks class.
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
it's
Oh god.
cool.
But yeah, at the moment, just hypertrophy.
What's the
Default.
thing? Is there like a? I'd love to deadlift 700 pounds. Is there a like an all-time
Pinnacle that people
like gymnastics version?
The 700 pounds equivalent is probably
Iron cross.
double cork. Oh well, yeah, gymnastics is the iron cross, like a strength goal or something like that.
Okay, I just mean like a in the community. What's like fuck like
720.
Double back tucks. So something like a 720, like where the more spins, and then like only few people on earth have ever done a triple cork, and then like one guy's done a quadruple. But he's like tiny. He's like 55 kilos and just the perfect.
all in one.
Yeah, just run. Big run up. I think he does a couple of like pre things and just
Goals.
they're just so good at delaying the spin until they're right at the top of the
And then they
apex
just
of their thing, and then they
loop
raise their
it,
center of
yeah.
gravity and just get really tight, and it's just like
That's
Why
cool.
don't you do loads of ring stuff?
I'm just not strong enough at all.
But like,
Which is
You're,
depressing.
you're going to be quite heavy as well, I guess.
Yeah, like 150 bench, and I'm absolutely piss poor at rings. It's
But you
crazy how like
You got a 150 bench.
yeah
Fucking hell.
I did it with you. Won the
in
little
Pinnacle.
Yeah,
Shit, so you
got
did.
the little record for the
So
thing.
as a very, very brief segue here, we went into a gym in Brunswick Park, just above Gosforth in Newcastle. I took Jonny Yusef in there, on the board in there with these kind of like West Side barbell style weight
Long-standing like
strength,
records.
like overhead press, bench press, squat, so on and so forth. And you moved through, I think, all three of the lifts from powerlifting, squat, bench and deadlift for reps, and repped higher 1 rep maxes than were on there. I
Yeah.
think you did
Just
for
part of
5.
training
I think for 5 you deadlifted more than the current 9.
So I think as part of my session that day, I took the 1 rep max for my weight class. You benched 150 for the first time. You smashed the record, didn't you?
It was like 135 or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
Oh,
For me, at the moment, immediately rehab back, make myself much more much more robust to injury. And then, within the next couple of years, I want to compete at a RX CrossFit comp.
Do you ever have the goal of regionals? I have no idea how ridiculous of a target that is.
I think shy of me tacking myself onto a team and basically bringing them down. I need. It's the beginning of a salesman's career and saying I want to be the CEO. Like you just don't know how good you can be at the sport, and at the moment I don't know how good I can be. For me, CrossFit comp, become competitive locally, and then see where we go from there.
What is one thing that if you could dial it up? So like there's a series of skills in CrossFit. If I said to you, Chris, I have the mixing table. I have the series of dials. I can turn up one of those abilities. Which of those do you think is such a weakness that if it was elevated, it would really bring up your skills?
For me, endurance.
Endurance.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm
So
strong.
if that was 10x.
Yeah. Like I can be sufficiently strong already because of my background. I'm not stronger really than anyone, but I'm in the mixer with that. But I lag behind in endurance.
it's true actually. 10xing your endurance would just mean like
Because
Yeah.
it's
Even
the
stuff you
it's the
never
foundation. The endurance is the foundation for everything. Because if you had the work capacity, the strength would be irrelevant. Because top end strength is never used in CrossFit, except for actually in the games, which will have been by the time that this is gone. But the CrossFit Total is going to be one of the comps in there, but it's very rare. Most of the time, it's an ascending
It's like a
squat clean ladder,
or-
but
yeah.
with ring muscle ups in between. And the reason that the squat clean ladder is hard is because you're fatigued. So if your endurance was there,
Got it.
you would be fine. Here's a pretty cool one. When did you first get into mindfulness and looking after your mental state, and why?
It was something that Yusef said to me, which was that it was the idea of having no attachments, having no external attachments was the path to like no suffering and being at peace.
It's what Sam Harris says, isn't it? That for years and years, contemplatives have used isolation as a route to discover whether or not happiness can be found in isolation of external factors. And for most people, solitary confinement is considered the worst punishment in the world, but these people have found solace in that.
Yeah. I mean, is that right? Have I blundered that?
No, you're right. Yeah, like no attachments, no aversions means that you've got ultimate freedom to, like, there's no suffering.
You're not at the mercy of anything.
Yeah, like if you equate, it's the idea that if you have this circuit of desire, chase the desire, fulfill the desire, happy for a moment because the mind quiets on the fulfillment of that desire, and then a new desire comes up, and then you repeat that cycle. Whereas if you were to short circuit that whole process, eliminate the desire, which you can do consciously through repetition, then you've got the quieting of the mind without having to go through that big loop and chase the desire and fulfill it. And then you've just got that from
Constant
the beginning.
fulfillment.
What were the things you
on
said
tap.
about feelings from your retreat? Unsatisfactoriness.
Oh, so the Buddhist approach is everything is anicca, anatta, and sukha, I think. So impermanence. Everything is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self in its qualities. And so the sooner that you can teach your nervous system that, not just consciously, but like at a deep level, then you don't attach to anything, and you can just let experiences flow through you without having to grasp or push away.
So that's everything, both good and bad, is temporary and never enough.
Yeah.
And as long as you... So it was
So the reps of that are just like allowing
reinforce that.
those things to flow through.
So I think like realizing that your entire life you're going through this material, like externally validated and motivated approach to try and feel happy. I think that's really what everyone's trying to do at some level. And the way you explained it, once you hear it like that, you're like, oh, actually, it's kind of pointless to have all this time that's going to pass regardless, and not at least try and work on the thing that is the most valuable thing you have.
The thing that is actually perceiving all of this, the interface between the external reality. And I think one of the ways that we stay in this hamster wheel is that our mind convinces ourselves that if we were to suddenly detach from all desire and attachment and aversion, we'd become this like log that would just But if anything, if you see people that are frequent meditators, they are the most vibrant and enthusiastic and fully engaged people because they're able to just dive in with both feet and not have to.
So I did take 10 headspace.
Take 10.
Take 10.
Hands in the arms,
down to the
resting
legs.
on
So
the
yeah,
legs.
I think I had a couple of periods of naturally I'm quite a depressive person. I think my native state is to be on the depressed side of things, so I don't tend to look at the positives naturally.
I'm the same.
And
So it's your default state. I don't. Yeah, like your native state, isn't it?
Okay, sorry, default state.
like-
Should I say?
So something happens, do you catastrophize and think of the worst?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. And that was reinforced a lot through work. So the business that I'm in of club nights is inherently very it's very changeable, and it is at the mercy of market forces and the whims of customers who are the most fickle bastards on the planet. And what that leads to is this kind of low-level anxiety that's constantly going, and
I'd struggle to do what you do.
it reinforced thought patterns that were already default for me, and just like through sheer fucking brute force, I think being around you two makes a really big difference for me. Doing the podcasts has been like, I say it all the time, it's like therapy for me.
It's really helpful because I feel like the three of us have very different sticking points in our growth, and I think seeing someone who's like got a clear channel in one of those other ones is really useful to.
Yeah, we fill. I think with regards to each other, we fill in a lot of the gaps that all of us have, and there's one of the rules that we all of us cite to each other a lot. Is Jordan Peterson's be friends with people who want the best for you. And what's interesting with that is be friends with people who want the best for you isn't be friends with people who tell you what you want to hear, So as a really, really good example, Johnny was working on some new content for Propane about a month or a couple of months ago. He'd worked on it for quite a while. He sent the video in to me and Yusef, and my reply to him, I knew that he'd worked really hard and I knew that it was good, but my response to him immediately was, yeah, mate, that's good, but being frank, like, it's nowhere near as good as you could be. Like, I know how good you can make this content, and I think your response, Yusef, was something similar. And
Yusef was just like, it's fucking shit, what are you doing?
You're an arsehole, please can we split the business off?
But yeah,
and,
you're right.
And you know, you went away and I don't know whether you knew that in advance, but you went away and you came back, and the next time you did it, you absolutely fucking smashed it, and it was amazing. And I was like, that's being friends with people who want the best for you, the same way as the young child wants the sweets, but the sweets aren't good for it. Giving it the vegetables is what it needs. Giving it the sweets is what it wants, but that's not necessarily what it needs, and that's being friends with people who want the best for you.
It's people who aren't just waiting to tell you about them and tell you, like, what's happening for them, and like actually.
But actually, what happened this morning? Like, honestly,
exactly that.
That's
like you ask for advice, and someone sits and thinks about it, thinks about you, and gives you advice that is relevant for you in their opinion.
Yeah. So I think for me, it was having a series of pretty tough depressive episodes, like not being able to get out of bed, just refusing to get out of bed. And one of the problems with me and with work is that because I don't have a boss, I'm never culpable to anybody. And what that means is that I can always make an excuse about why I'm not in work. It means that I can either, by being truthful or by lying, I can always get out of having to do things that mean that I need to leave the house. So, and that to me just, it didn't make me feel good. Like I didn't feel proud of myself, and I didn't think, like, that, is this what my fucking life's turned out to be? Like, I don't want to leave bed because of some thought pattern. Like, nothing's really actually gone wrong in the grand scheme of things. Recently, I sat down with a guy who elected to chop one of his legs off, like, after being hit with 5 IEDs and losing his best mate and commander in Iraq. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
puts it in context.
Yeah, it does, but you need the tools. You have to have the tools to be able to deal with these sort of things. And I think that it was sheer brute force is the thing that I keep coming back to. And the reason I say brute force is I force-fed myself content which made my life better. So reading and listening to people like Jordan Peterson, Tim Ferriss, you know, Sam Harris, all of these guys who spoke a language which I understood. The School of Life YouTube channel is a huge influence. So that's my why. And then, you know, as we've just said there, like, I think us three make each other's lives better. Like, I'd be fucked, like, if it wasn't for the fact that we have each other privately and publicly as well. And you know, we don't let each other off the hook with things. We hold each other accountable as well if someone's being inconsistent with things, or if someone needs support with things. Like,
that's the best thing that you can do for someone, and it's the same principle you said that you should do if you are a woman or a man in a like starting a relationship or dating someone, is to hold them to those high standards and don't settle for anything less for both of your sakes. Really like it.
Yeah, very much so. There's a couple of Love Island-y ones here, so I'll get them through. Have you been watching this season of Love Island? If yes, thoughts on scripted filming, from Vision Asiri. I watched the first week, and then I was in America for a bit, and then Adam, my friend, left. So I haven't got a massive sample to work with. There's been some accusations thrown around about scripting, because they did a match in action. What's called a match in action in cinematography is where something will start off on one side and then they'll flip to another camera angle and continue the scene. And someone noticed that in one scene, two separate couples kissed at the same time, and in a different scene they kissed separately in the match.
Okay.
And listen to the Love Island podcast, it goes back to that. As I say in that, the dates are much more heavily produced. This is because they don't have set up camera angles. It's quite likely that might have even been the same camera, that wouldn't have been happening at the same time. Right, guys, we've got that. Can you sit back down, please? We're just going to get you to kiss again. It's like they asked them to kiss again and say goodbye. It wasn't some crux of the story. It wasn't that someone was about to reveal they loved someone and they told them to shut the fuck up.
It's probably unnecessary work anyway to do that, isn't it? To create a plot when you've got people in there anyway that
they're doing the stuff themselves. I said this,
Yeah.
and this is, you know, anyone who's concerned about whether or not Love Island is scripted or not, you can come back to this, which is about as close to safety latch as you can get, which is the people that are in there have not had media training. I can promise you they haven't had media training. You get Stephanie, 18, from Bolton, and drop her in the middle of Mallorca and say, right, so Alex has just told you that he loves you, but we didn't quite get that. Can you just do that reaction again? She's going to have a meltdown. She's not going to be able to do that. She doesn't have that in her capabilities. So just what's that thingy's razor?
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is often the correct one. Yeah. There you go. Have you found it harder to find someone that's genuinely in it for you and not because of Love Island? So I kind of get this similar sort of question a lot, and I think that people are overestimating the level of fame that particularly I got out of my season. Like, the early seasons of Love Island, people are not considered celebrities anymore. And being frank, like, after 1 year lapsed outside of Love Island, no one gives a fuck anymore. Like, everyone's only concerned about the most recent ones. The only way that you can still be relevant is if you do what Chris and Kem have done, which is force yourself down the throat to the people.
Create something else.
Yeah, by continuing to make yourself relevant.
I suppose they're for a short period of time given this platform, and it's like, there you go, do something with it, or it'll expire. And if it expires, then
could you do a podcast in regards to tips for the gym if you haven't already, from Sophia Larkin? I'm not sure if I don't know how long you followed us for, Sophia, but
go back, listen to those podcasts, listen to the Propane podcast.
There are 120 episodes on the Propane Fitness podcast, and the clue is in the name. Some of them are on fitness.
Genuinely the best resource on fitness that we know of, otherwise we would have created it. So
we did. So yeah, another question from M Wood. Any advice on getting back to training after illness?
Good question. Really good question.
So I've got a series on this called Project Swole that was directed specifically towards regaining muscle mass after heavy illness, but the same thing applies, like same principles. So watch those series of videos. It goes over how I was admitted to hospital for 7 days with an infection on a background of a 6-week just multiple series of sequence of infections.
How do I find them, Yusef?
Oh, just go on propanefitness.com.
Okay.
There's a lovely new live search bar.
All right.
So just start typing Project Swole.
And I'll find them there.
You'll find them all there.
What would the URL be?
It'll be propanefitness.com/Project Swole.
Dean, video guy Dean will make it appear magically on the screen somewhere. We have totally missed one screenshot at the bottom, and there's some absolute belters on here. What do you need to do to reduce belly fat? From Lati Far. As far as I'm aware, there is absolutely no research which says that you can spot reduce fat.
The best analogy that I've heard is doing crunches to reduce this is like scooping the corner of a swimming pool to try and get rid of this bit of water. So it's like that. That's exactly how it is. And for losing fat in general, again, go back and check.
Calorie fucking deficit,
yeah,
mate.
well, listen to the Getting Lean for Summer podcast.
Just exercise more than you eat in terms of caloric expenditure. There you go. Chris, I used a super like on you on Tinder. Where's my chance, boo? Can't pronounce that.
That's where they're going wrong.
Yeah.
Shit username.
If you... Yeah, exactly. I'm afraid, as I explained on Hacker in Your Pocket, I'm trying to reduce my smartphone time, which included removing Tinder. One piece of life advice from each of you that you would give to my 17-year-old son from
Jim Fecker.
Jim Fecker.
Good lord.
That is a really good fucking question.
Good God.
At 17 years old,
So, do you want me to start?
Yes.
Decide on a 3-year goal in each of the 4 quadrants of your life. So this is not my framework. This is from a few people that's been adapted, but body, being, balance, and business. So business could... Body, your physical goal, whether it's physique or sport or whatever. Being, spiritual pursuit, whether it's prayer, meditation, anything on that.
Introspective.
In that side, anything introspective, anything kind of self-growth, emotional processing. Balance, time with your family and friends. And business is maybe your career prospect, studies, any of that stuff. So just have something in each of those 4 quadrants in 3 years, and then divide that back into what are the weekly targets and the daily habits that I need to do to keep me moving towards that. And by the time you're 21, you'll be an absolute monster.
Bastard.
Yeah. Johnny?
2 things. First, set some time aside every day to read something or listen to a book, because I think it's the easiest way to just expand your thinking, improve your vocabulary, improve your understanding of a range of topics. Like I would pick books in different areas and just accumulate knowledge, because if you install that habit, by the time you're 21, you'll have learned so much that your friends won't have. Second one is try and be mindful or aware of your ego in situations and how it can influence how you react and what you do, because I think it leads to a lot of like knee-jerk reactions or muddies
the water
decisions.
of a lot of stuff, right? I think both of those are fantastic and probably lead on from what I would have said. So, for someone who's 17, just if it was me, I would focus on being as truthful and honest as I can, and that's with everybody, from myself to the people around me. And the ego thing is totally true. There's this lovely quote from Eckhart Tolle where in The Power of Now, where he talks about when you have a conversation with someone and they are defending a position even though they know that it's wrong, and the reason that they're so terrified of admitting that it's wrong is because that admission is tantamount to destruction.
Yeah.
And the removal of the ego removes your attachment to that element of you, and as soon as you can do that, your capacity for growth just goes through the roof.
Because instead you've got this basal digging the heels in because of the fear of death and the fear of wanting to defend
it's such a huge thing. Like allowing yourself to be wrong and embracing being wrong, and like actually to a degree desiring being proven to be wrong it's great. It's a lovely feeling,
especially when you're 17. I think you already feel
you're going to be wrong more than you're going to be right.
You're going to be wrong more than but you're also wanting to. You're not stable in your character or anything, and so you want to try and like get a footing and dig things in, even if it's not correct.
There's an idea of if you approach a discussion and open with your opinion, you immediately reduce the amount you could have learned from that situation by allowing someone else to give their unfiltered opinion.
If you aim,
we're all so eager to be right, and
that comes back to turning conversations into tennis matches, doesn't it? You wait for someone to finish so that it's your turn to hit the ball. And if you aim to speak about half as much as you listen, I think that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb.
That's why we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
There you go. Do you remember meeting me at Universal Studios, Renee Huesca? Yes, I do. It was very nice to meet you, Renee. She was the one person in America that asked for a photo with me, because Love Island Season 1 was on Hulu.
On Hulu.
Hulu. Do you keep in contact with anyone you were in the villa with from XOX, Gemma XOX? Yes, I've got all of the guys on WhatsApp and do keep in touch whenever I see anything relevant. I probably speak to John Clark and Max the most. Max is still doing pretty good. I think he might be moving away actually. John Clark smashing it on Towie. Josh Ritchie shagging Charlotte Crosby, so fair play. Jordan Ring is just being massive. Advice for an 18-year-old wanting to go to the games. # it's gonna happen. _the_hoy_. Get yourself a good programmer. Warrior programming is fantastic. Get someone who does your programming, get someone that does your nutrition. Set a long-term goal. Like, don't aim to go to the games in 2 years' time. Aim to be at the games when you're 23 or 25. Because it's not the same now as when Rich Froning and Josh Bridges and even like people like Tia Wright and Brooke Wells and people like that. It's not the same as it was when they were. The caliber of people, when Annie Thorisdottir went and did the games, people were still doing kipping muscle-ups as opposed to butterfly, because that was the level of advancement, and there was so many more, it was so much less refined, and the level of competition was so lower. It is like, from the outside looking in, it still may look like the equivalent of a cottage industry, but it is it's $500,000 when you win now. That's the prize money this year in the 2018 CrossFit Games. And Matt Fraser will be, for the rest of his life, he's just bought a plot of land that's got 8 acres on it and has like a barn that's about 2 acres.
I imagine the prize money is like the tip of the iceberg for what they get from sponsorship and
influence and all that sort of shit.
There's the quote from Tony Robbins. It's like, everyone overestimates what they can accomplish in a year but underestimates what they can accomplish in a decade.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you said, like, aim for it at 20.
It comes back to what did we say about being 17? Like, set yourself a long-term goal, break it down day by day, and get someone, make yourself externally accountable. If you're 18, being frank, like, your capacity to have perspective is almost zero.
Oh,
like,
man, one more thing for the 17 as well. Like, looking back, the amount of, I think, hold yourself to higher standards than your immediate peer group.
Yeah, 17-year-olds are fucking idiots.
Because I did my first degree was maths and business, and a lot of the people on the degree were absolute waste men. And because I was smashing it in relative terms, I thought, but actually, like my work ethic and my like actual output was so low.
Hang around with some older people.
Yeah.
Hang around with some people that are 3 years older than you, 5 years older than you, and just get what you can from them, glean what you can from them.
Or like find people you admire online. I think that's something.
Contact them, listen to podcasts, consume content.
I don't feel like that existed when I was 17.
Definitely not.
But like the number of people you can listen to and just like hours and hours, years of content online from people who are really impressive people.
Modern wisdom.
RJ, just before we move on.
Yep.
I feel like 18 to 28 for me, ages, like absolutely ages. So much has happened, but I feel like I'll be 38 before I know what's happened.
Yeah, I feel like a blinked and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah, it's worrying. Well, so they say like speed of time increases as you get older because you've got the same
Less
you've
variety.
had more familiar experiences.
I think if you can try and cultivate a growth mindset though, I think that you can slow that time difference by an awful lot. There is not Susanna Hallinan, who I did a podcast with recently, Gretchen Rubin talks about trying to vary your life as much as possible to slow that down. So taking different routes to work, and things like that, like varying, eating with the left hand, like just doing as much as you can to vary your life.
Tim Ferriss is the master of that, isn't he? With all the travel and like.
What you said about setting sort of 3-year, 90-day goals, and you look back over a year and go like, wow, look at what I've done across all these parts of my life. Then, when 10 years go by, you can almost look back and go,
because the problem is, it's not the experienced self, because the time doesn't go any quicker or any slower. It's the remembered self.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's about
having reference points, isn't it?
RJ Smith 515. How do you go about deciding what career is right for you and what to do in a job you're in, but don't enjoy, if that makes sense? I'm a support worker, 26, having done sports science at uni, got a crappy grade, and don't know what the best career path for myself is.
So we've both had a major change of career path, and so have you to an extent.
So what would you do if money was no object?
There you go. So what would you do if you didn't have to pay for anything anymore and money was no object? What would you spend your time
I suppose
doing?
as long as that, because a lot of people, because I get asked this quite a bit, I imagine you do too, because people see that I've left accountancy to do online fitness and they're like, what a weird direction. I think some people, when I ask them that back, say, oh yeah, but I'm really into fishing, I can't monetize that. Like
yes, you can.
Yeah, there's ways to monetize most things, and I think there's the risk that you turn your hobby or your passion into a career or into a job and end up hating your passion. But I think if you structure it right, the way I feel about it is if you are like deeply passionate about something, you will be able to, and this is what Alan Watts says, like if you love doing something, you'll be good at it. And if you're really good at it, you'll be able to command a good fee or a good income from whatever it is that you do. So start with that question.
So, yeah, like, and you may be passionate, you may not, and if you're not blessed with passion in something and you can't force it, then be strategic about it and say, what do I value? Do I value time? Do I value money? Do I value freedom? And this will change over the years, but a lot of people, and I went to work in finance and in asset manager, and a lot of these people who work there, they were really passionate about finance, plus they really valued money, much more than they valued time. And so I remember getting a message at 8 a.m. UK time from someone in the New York office, New Start, saying, hey, can you send me some slides for this thing it was on chat? And I was like, isn't it 4 a.m. for you? And she was like, yeah, I've been in since 9 a.m. this morning. Like, that kind of lifestyle, if you value money over and above all else, then yeah. But there's my supervisor. For anyone who doesn't know me, I transitioned into medicine alongside propane from finance. It was one of the best decisions I've made. But My supervisor at the moment did something similar, and said to me like, money is not. So he runs a private company, but is a doctor at the same time. Is like, now, like, if I were to scale my business nationally, what would it do for my income? Like, it wouldn't really give me much additional benefit. It would only increase the quality of the problems that I have. And so I don't want to have to deal with that. It's like, additional money at this point isn't going to help me. So, but I think when you've got whatever you have the least of, you hunger for that, and then you think like, I'm just going to go to the top level for that. And people are like, oh, I want a £10 million business or a £1 billion business. You're like,
no, you
the
don't.
statistics,
You definitely don't.
the research says that after about £50,000, £55,000, happiness does not increase with money.
But it's so hard to see that when you're earning much less than it, because you think like, wow, well,
I love that.
And like, there's so much literature around scaling past $1 million as a business just creates problems beyond what most people are willing to tolerate.
Fuck that.
I think something that I really like is in keeping with the strategy. Like, if something isn't, I'm passionate about this, look at what you are better at than your friendship group. Like, look at what do your friends go like, oh, he or she's really good at this, and everyone has something.
Yeah.
And I think that's an indicator of your skills and your strengths.
It takes so much introspective work to work out what that was. So, a really good example that I like is, what did you do between the ages of maybe about 6 and 14? What were your hobbies that you did back then? There's this great example that Gretchen Rubin uses where she talks about the world's best colour picker. So this woman chooses selections of colours that match together from however many there is, 4 billion colours. And she selects the ones that work, and it's for like massive Dulux, Vivienne Westwood. And she matches these colours together. And they said, so what are your professional qualifications in this? And so, well, nothing, but when I was about 10 years old, I had like the largest crayon set that you can get, and I used to just spend all of my time doing that. And to bring it back to me, when I was a kid, I was an absolute gobshite who wouldn't shut up. And I used to listen to audiobooks. What is the 20 years hence, what is the manifestation of that? It's talking and listening on a podcast.
oh man,
And that weirdly
That's cool.
poetically justice. To sort of finish off that, what would you do if money is no object is a really, really good way to do it. Another useful tool to use is to try and work out a Venn diagram of what you're good at, what you love to do, what society needs, and what you can be paid for. And if you can try and find out where all of those things intersect, that's probably going to be somewhere close to your calling. Now, that's not necessarily going to be the most fulfilling, because as is shown by the Venn diagram, you're going to have to sacrifice some of what you love to do for some of what you can be paid for, and a bunch of other things. But we work within these grey areas a lot of the time, and it's great to go dick and balls for one thing, but a lot of the time trying to find a modicum of balance is probably a pretty good way to go.
Yeah, and the guy asking this question is a support worker right now, and a lot of people would say that's an extremely fulfilling role because you're very hands-on and you're helping people on a one-on-one basis. But if it's not fulfilling you, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with the job. It's just that it's not the way that you derive fulfillment from adding value to people in a certain way. So, like,
I think there's no worse way to spend your life than do something every day for the majority of your time that you don't enjoy doing. I honestly think it's the worst decision you can make for yourself.
I would have been seriously depressed or probably killed myself within 10 years if I'd stayed at BlackRock. Obviously, forces would have meant that you would have changed. It would change the thing. But if we were in a communist government and I had to do that, then
Out of a window.
There's a photo of you, just in keeping with Chris's thing, there's a photo of you where you've arranged all your toys in order.
In the perfect semicircle.
Yeah. And that's just, I think, like, investment
It's just a sign
banker,
of
doctor,
childhood
very
autism,
competent with websites and technology. There's the next one.
It's just an early diagnostic sign of autism.
Totally autistic.
Brief one here. How important is it to stay in the 10 to 15% body fat range for hypertrophy?
Roots PT. Roots, Andrew, thank
What
you
up?
for the shout outs recently and the shares of the podcast and so on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, excuse me.
I remember seeing you in Biker DW Fitness and thinking,
Let's get ready,
That man
let's
isn't
get ready, let's get ready to rumble. If I get popped on YouTube for that fucking music usage, because we're so tonally, we're so
accurate.
close. Yeah.
oh god.
Not important.
For gaining muscle,
It's easier.
like so yeah, there's physiological metrics for saying that if your hormonal profile goes out of whack if you're too much above 15%, because fat and adipocytes are a endocrine organ in themselves. They produce estrogen, and so if you have too much fat on your body, you're going to be producing more estrogen than you should. That's not conducive to muscle gain. But the other thing is that it's just a waste of time gaining too much fat and having to then spend 6 or 8 months cutting back. The simpler solution would be eat a surplus that is moderate enough so that you don't stray above that.
0.5%
0.5% body weight per week loss. And if you're gaining 0.5% a month, or if you've been training for a while, I imagine Andrew's asking this out of interest because last time I saw you were pretty lean. So
on the flip side of that, though, trying to maintain 8 or 9% whilst gaining muscle as well,
trying to stay too lean is obviously
you're going to be playing about with such fine caloric discrepancies that it's going to be a fucking nightmare. Allow yourself to relinquish. One thing that no one really ever talks about when they talk about training and diet in terms of a typical bulk cut cycle is that willpower is a finite resource. Everyone just treats bodybuilders and fitness models and people that go to the gym like they're just like a fucking robot that's got inputs and outputs. It's no, if you've been in a moderately restricted diet for 8 months, keeping yourself trying to grow at 9% or 8%, and then you have to cut from there, where's the fucking willpower? You're going to have lost the will to live.
Absolutely. And I should say as well, maybe that's where the question is coming from, that you're staying below that range and what, but being 7-6%, then you have the opposite problem. Your androgens start to drop, and so that's also not conducive to muscle gain.
So to a degree, 10 to 15% is it's
a sweet spot, and 10 to 12%, as far as anyone else is concerned, looking at you on a beach,
you're going to be shredded.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that guy's a bodybuilder. He's big and lean. The
only person abs lean. You'll have a little bit of vascularity,
and you'll be bigger from the intramuscular fat as well. So the only person that ever cares whether you're 7% or 9% is you. Even your partner.
I wouldn't say even bother worrying about body fat percentage. I know there has to be a frame for the question, but it's so difficult to say am I 10%, 11%, 13%, 17%. So I would get the model we use with everyone we work with is get to the point where you are as happy objectively as you can possibly be with how lean you are. You don't mind adding a bit of calories. Try to retain visually that leanness as much as possible. Try to keep your body weight as stable as possible, allowing slight increase, and focus on adding weight to the bar or doing more total work over time. And naturally, by virtue of that, you will be adding muscle mass at the max of your physiological rate. And just set calories to be permissive to muscle growth.
0.5% to 1% per month is
at most
gain.
Yeah, at most. But
there's a video on this that it's a grid, and a matrix, and it relates to how many years of training you've had and how much muscle gain that equates to as far as per month. Yeah.
DJ Slacky 85. First one, when's the Leon Scott podcast coming out? I have got a reminder set for about 4 days' time to give him a message. For those people who don't know, Leon Scott is a pretty well-known Instagram model, and I got him to agree to come on, but he's got a crazy busy shoot schedule, so I haven't been able to get him yet, but I promise I will. He's only from Middlesbrough, which is just down the road, and there's someone who's 150k on Instagram, and he does Herald London, which you may have heard of, and Chain and Able, and he does big dick campaigns, huge big dick social media influencer campaigns. But he's the guy that suggested that we go to the Kadampa Compassion Center and do Buddhist meditation. Right. So he was the guy that inspired me. Yeah, he was the one that inspired me to go there. This guy we're talking earlier on about being an enigma and having multi-facets in your personality. This guy is completely he's an outlier. Right. And it's going to be super, super interesting. I literally have no idea what I'm going to hear when I sit down with him. I've never heard him speak.
Wow.
He doesn't do recorded voice. He also plays professional football for Darlington Football Club. Wow. He's got this super fit girlfriend, and he's always in Bali and doing cool shit, and then he'll on a photo shoot, and then he'll be training, and then he's released ebooks and all sorts of stuff. He's an interesting fucking guy. So to Chris, can you describe your transition from training the typical weight training split to the way you do now, in terms of what you notice in your physique changes and how your diet has changed? You look a lot bigger than your Love Island shape, yet still lean.
ChrisFit podcast.
ChrisFit podcast, yeah. So propane fitness and search ChrisFit. That
so
was
satisfying to be like,
We've actually got like a
already
2-hour discussion on exactly that.
it's available on YouTube or on iTunes. Got
all
the
the Love
propane
Island
fitness thing.
questions.
Just search just Google propane fitness ChrisFit and you will find it.
Yeah,
Love Island, fat loss, Chris training.
yeah.
We even discussed Uber helicopters in that one.
Oh yeah.
I do.
Is that the first podcast we ever did with you?
Yeah, that was the first one.
So the most interesting thing on that, watch Chris's podcast presence. That's the most impressive transformation.
Yeah, you're probably right. I've changed my capacity on a podcast more than my physique, I think. To try and distill that down, doing CrossFit means training from that to how I am now. It's just been CrossFit. Like I wish that I could say it was something else. I wish that there was some secret sauce or some solution that I'd added in, and it's not. It's just been CrossFit. And I think again we go back to blunt force trauma. Like it's an awful lot of volume. Very frequently. I'm training a lot more frequently than I used to. The reason for that is because I like the way that I train. What that distills down to is choose a training methodology which you enjoy. If you enjoy it, you will train more. And if you train more, you will elicit gains more quickly than you would have done if you weren't. There's something called MRV, which is maximum recoverable volume. And for an awful lot of people that go to the gym normally, I think they're miles below that. The number of people that overtrain, unless they're in a fucking heavy calorie
People
deficit.
are so worried about overtraining, aren't they? Like, oh mate, what if I'm doing 5 sets of squats this week and I'm worried about overtraining? It's like,
Fuck off, mate. Like, you know.
Your mind will limit you overtraining way before you can even touch overtraining for like 99% of the population.
Train more. Train more.
I've not seen someone lift as much volume and just have the capacity to just hit his head off a wall
Yeah.
so much as Johnny. And
I think I've been pretty fucking close.
I think you've been close to overtraining.
I had a time where I passed out on the sofa while watching. So I got in from the gym, lay down, and just fell asleep and woke up several hours later feeling terrible and shakes and shivers. But I still don't think I was overtrained.
So just because
Honestly.
you did like a hard set of curls doesn't mean that,
Yeah.
Propanefitness.com / or just propanefitness.com MRV. There's an article on it by the guy who coined the concept.
Oh, wow.
Mike Israetel.
That is big dick. So in terms of diet, for maybe the last 18 months, because I was training more, it allowed me to eat more. Whether you believe in G-flux theory or not, I'm not really too sure, but I was eating more, I was training more. Like, it doesn't take a genius to work out what's going to happen. Like, the kind of physique as well that I consider to be aesthetically pleasing has changed an awful lot from like the tiny waist, massive shoulders, underdeveloped like lower back, zero glutes kind of fitness model thing to now, for me, a functional physique is
just
much more
thick now, aren't you?
thick as fuck.
Thick.
Yeah, like thick in the midsection. You know, look at someone like as a good example. If you don't follow CrossFit, Google or Instagram Noah Olsen, OHLSEN, Noah Olsen, or Brent Fikowski for someone who's like big and tall and lean. He's like 6'4", walks around at 7% body fat and eats 6,000. Yeah, 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day, 600 grams of carbs. That's what peeled out of his mind.
This is something I'd like to ask you related to this. Has CrossFit changed what you find attractive in a woman?
Absolutely, yeah. So again, because I have no idea when this one's going to get published, I don't know if this is in the future or in the past. At some point, I will do a podcast with Sonny Webster. From today, it will be 1 week's time. When it's recorded.
You make the fourth walls thing so much worse than it needs to be. So it's 7 days from now, but that might be 14 days in the past or the future for you, depending on
the posting schedule.
Yeah.
So, and me and Sonny have this discussion an awful lot. One of the things that we're going to bring up on that is going to be that there is for both men and women, there are massive advantages and disadvantages of finding other people that do CrossFit and strength sports attractive. One of the ones for men is that you are essentially forced to have sex from a deficit. Reason being that if you are doing a girl from behind who is particularly well developed in the gluteal area, that essentially your hips are pushed further away from the point of entry, which is sex from a deficit. And I really don't care how big your piece is.
I'm trying to figure out that sex from a deficit.
Doing a deadlift, standing on a plate.
Oh,
Think
okay.
about it that way.
So like reduced range of motion or increased range?
Reduced. Well, you've got reduced.
Increased range of motion theoretically, but reduced actual.
So it's like putting it's like benching with plates. Benching with
So there's a fixed
okay.
distance internally, fixed distance, right?
I
There is a
understand.
blockage externally preventing you from taking advantage of the
so
internal
like
fixed
you'd
distance.
be deadlifting from like rack pulls then, or
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Like
so
a board
but not from
press.
it's not board press. So it's
board press. Right, so,
but
okay,
I don't
fine.
think that is what it is.
it's from a deficit in
So
terms
you're
of
saying that the glute mass and your anterior thigh mass
Is
means that
increasing
that's
the range of
gonna
motion, increasing the total range of motion that you are required
because
to
you have to
do.
work around
Do you know what it is?
You have to-
Something tells me that when I ask Sonny Webster this question, this isn't going to occur.
We're trying to decide.
But like the autistic.
Trying to
like,
decide
getting
whether it's
stuck
a
in the
rack
corner.
pull or a deficit deadlift. Who gives a shit?
No,
But it is a deficit deadlift,
a deficit deadlift would increase the range.
which is what it's doing.
But the actual
How is it decreasing the range?
penetration range. If there's a
No, so
barrier,
it's decreasing the penetration, but increasing the range that
The-
you have to perform.
so it's increasing your hip movement.
Yeah, which is the
Can we
range.
get back to the fact? Okay, so here's so it's twofold. Okay, the first one is I don't care how big your piece is, you cannot afford to lose 1 inch to 2 inches off length. Like no one can. Doesn't matter how well
Yeah,
long you are.
I agree.
What's that like? That question, the men's health one.
An inch off your penis or an inch off your...
It's gain an inch on your penis, gain 6 inches of height, or 20 pounds of muscle, 15 pounds of muscle.
15 pounds of muscle.
muscles.
If you were 6 inches tall, you'd be fucked.
Yeah. 15 pounds of muscle is going to...
So that's it. That's the
Yeah.
first part, right? And then on the flip side, as a woman who's in strength sports, you know, if you're really, really pushing at it, it is inevitable that your range of motion is going to be reduced. Muscle mass tends to be pretty contrary to range of motion, and I don't really care how strong you are, but as a woman, if your knees can no longer touch your shoulders, you've sacrificed too much. Like, yes, you're strong, but at what cost? Because both you and I have lost out from that. So yeah,
So like the combination of the lack of range causes it worse. Probably.
But you've got
Increased
from
range.
front and back, you've got reduced like penetral distance. Doesn't matter where you put them,
Fine.
they're not.
So is there an advantage to you getting pancake and splits?
Absolutely, there you go. What, as a man or as a woman?
Well, both. But for you as a man.
For me as a man, not really, because
So-
it doesn't really matter what I do.
So I found my box splits and adductor. My abduction is
Does it allow you to scoop underneath a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
been
more?
very helpful.
How about
Just
you with
in general.
Romwod, Johnny? Because you deadlift sumo. So has Becca noticed a difference in the?
I think
bedroom?
Romwad, for me, brings me back to normal rather than puts me into super normal. Like, I think my flexibility is probably pretty poor in the strength world. Better than, like, your average person. But, like, if you're comparing yourself to someone who's, like, struggling to hold themselves in position for more than 10 seconds or, you know, gets out of breath very quickly, then...
Which you do currently.
right now, yeah, you just got to take regular breaks.
Well, like you, I mean,
Regular breaks and regular sips of water. And, you know, don't push yourself too hard.
like it's legitimately a problem. Like we joke, but there are people who turn up to IVF clinics, and the advice is just lose some weight because mechanically you can't.
You're not achieving it.
Yeah, like
They're deadlifting on 2 or 3 20 kilo
like the
bumpers.
bar is actually lower than like they can reach.
It's a seal row rather than a deadlift.
Oh man, yeah.
That's heavy. Right, I think we've pretty much completed it. There's loads left over, but that's an hour and 45.
We've completed podcasting.
We really did today. It's got dark outside.
Final
it's
boss.
thundering. Yeah, we have to start again on a high difficulty setting now.
Of course, do the
but
whole
you
thing
get God mode and you get new outfits.
And it's left, RB, LB, left, right, triangle, square, X.
Menu. And then you unlock all the
And
things.
you drive a motor and
Stuff that will be coming up. Bloody hell. Well, I have no idea of the production schedule, but I know that I'm going to get Alex from Cosmic Skeptic, who is a really interesting bastard. I'm going to have Sonny Webster coming up pretty soon. Sonny will be talking about doping and PED use in sports, which as a...
especially recently with all
Well,
the
the Emily Abbott from CrossFit and a bunch of other CrossFit athletes have been popped. Remembering that Sonny is unable to weightlift competitively for 4 years because of exactly the same thing, so that's going to be really
is
interesting.
he now doing
insight.
CrossFit?
No, he's traveling the world
Just does some
giving
CrossFit.
weightlifting seminars.
Strong guy.
Yeah, strong guy. Tim Briggs is going to be on talking about eating for performance. Paul Warrior, Jordan and Tim will be back doing what they do, and we have got life fails, life hacks 105 and 106 to go through.
And honesty.
We've got relationships 102, we've got the single one, we've got running your own business. We have got so much stuff coming up. All that I need you to do, strength as well, which you really want to do. All that I really need you to do, if you're still listening, after 1 hour and 48 minutes, if you are still listening, a couple of things that I want you to do. First one is head to youtube.com/Modern Wisdom Podcast and press subscribe. The second one is to tweet at Propane Fitness saying, please do another podcast, because they don't like notifications. And if you keep on doing it, it'll annoy them into coming around to my house so we can get notifications. Well, you've turned them off, haven't you?
Yeah, so see. Not even.
It's going to annoy Jo then. But she'll pass that down to
Twitter's like a graveyard as far as I'm concerned. It's pointless.
I do Twitter.
I tweet. DM them on Instagram because that'll come through. Anyway, thanks a lot.
Johnny won't see that.
Okay, bye then.
Bye then.
Okay, bye then.